And I'm actively against at least what I perceive to be ignorance. Not that I know everything, I don't.
Sure.
But when ignorance has a negative impact on people's lives, I tend to get quite upset by it. And that's why a lot of our conversations are around those type of things, where it's like, people that want to defend their ignorance without thinking about the impact that it has on people. And it's not just politicians and people that have big roles in society.
Sure.
It's everyone. Like, everyone has a responsibility to at least know some things, some important things, right? And I know who determines what's important, right? So, yeah, I guess I've got my set of values of what's important and what's not. But there are certain things that are facing us on a daily basis that we need to be cognizant of and actively thinking about. Not all the time. Obviously, you can't. It's stressful to be fighting battles all the time. But I don't like the idea that certain people think we can ignore certain things just because they don't directly affect them, or they think they're not problems for everyone to be concerned about. I think we do need to be concerned about quite a few really important things, and we know what they are. It's just people don't like having the tough conversations.
And you mentioned something that I was actually talking about on LinkedIn, just regarding ignorance, that you're not easygoing with people that are ignorant. But
which is a very dangerous statement, by the way.
Yes.
Because I know that someone can hear that and be like, so who do you determine what's ignorant? How do you determine who's ignorant or not? But like I said, there's certain things that we just know. We people are actively protecting themselves from learning because it's uncomfortable. So, like racism, for example, right? South Africa loves to talk about it, but there's people actively either directly or indirectly trying to stop the conversation because they're tired of talking about it, because it upsets them, because it's not fun. Okay, so you don't get to choose that. Like, I don't think you should be allowed to walk away from stuff because it's uncomfortable. Gender inequality, gender violence, things around education and how we're letting our children down. Climate. Like, climate is a real thing, and you don't get to hide behind your race, your gender, your religion, and say, oh, it's my freedom not to engage in that. Okay, well then fuck off. Sorry, am I allowed to?
No, of course.
Okay,
I'll just put explicit, when I do, and it's not safe for children.
I'll try not
it
to. It
actually segues nicely into...
Sorry, I jumped into your question there. Go ahead, yeah?
Yeah, well, you kind of answered it. What I was talking about was just that some people don't know what they don't know, right? And it comes down to, like, education, for example. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, I'm just trying to think how I described it to this lady, because she was pointing out, similar to you, that people choose to be ignorant, but some people don't know what they don't know, so I don't know if I'm being ignorant or not. And I have an issue similar to you, to people that are educated enough, but then choose to be ignorant.
That is exactly the people I am intolerant of. So I'm not easygoing around those things. Look, nobody knows everything.
Sure.
And even myself, I have to struggle. I do struggle from time to time for just jumping from my point of reference, because I might think I'm very knowledgeable in one space, right? But nobody knows everything.
Sure.
So you have to be humble in that sense and accept that people start from where they start from.
Sure.
Not everyone knows everything.
Yeah.
Right? It's like this weird example of when you go to Mnoto and he's like, hey Mnoto, have you heard of what's that artist you're telling me about? Is it Tom Misch or Ben Misch? Tom Misch, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Mnoto, I just heard of this guy. And Mnoto has two options. He can either be like, oh, you are so late to the party. Like, how can you not know who this artist is? Like, where have you been living, right? Or you can be like, oh, dope. Welcome. If you like that, you try these things. And let's take you from where you are in the journey, right? And you're not allowed to be... you're not allowed to just cut people off because they don't know. But when people do know, then they are... Like I said, they're actually against solving the issues, and those people have a problem. And sometimes it's not objective. So what I mean by that is, it's not always that they know that they're fighting against it. Right? So if you use the racism example, like, some person might not want to engage in the racism conversation.
Mm.
Not because they don't know what racism is or that it doesn't exist. It's just for whatever reason they've grown up in a space, or they live in a certain sector of society where they can be dismissive of it without knowing that they're being dismissive of it. And that's fine. But some people actively try to pretend that racism is not a problem. Yeah, that's gonna be a fight.